Valentine's Day arrived. I found flowers and an empty card. He confessed he told his dad about our issues. What does that even mean? I, 27 female, brought up Valentine's Day to my husband, 27 male, last week because I was uncertain if he was aware of its approach. He responded, "Well, I do not believe in Valentine's Day, so if you want to do something, we can, but it will be for you, not for me." I was unsure how to interpret that, but I replied, "We do not have to do anything extravagant. Perhaps we could just spend the evening together or have a small celebration at home." He merely stated that he did not mind. I decided to drop the topic. As the date drew nearer, I assumed he had forgotten, and I was not expecting a card or any celebratory gestures. On the day itself, it was not mentioned. I returned home around 12:30 p.m. for my lunch break and found flowers, which was delightful, and a card placed atop the refrigerator, with the envelope resting on the kitchen counter. The card was entirely blank, meaning there was no personal message from him whatsoever, not even my name, but there were pre-printed words inside from the manufacturer. The price tag was also still attached on the back, but perhaps he overlooked that we have all been in similar situations. To me, this seemed rushed and like an afterthought. He must have bought the card and flowers that morning after I had left for work. I am unsure if he purchased them before or after he headed to work. For context, I start work at 6 a.m. while he begins at 9 a.m. I believe he picked them up from the Tesco Express near our residence, which is fine, but it further contributes to my impression that it was a last-minute decision. The flowers were not my favorite, and I probably would not have chosen them, although there were some pink ones included, and pink is my favorite color. So I suppose there was some consideration there. He sent me a text asking if I liked the card and flowers. I responded, "Yes, thank you." "But why is the card empty?" He replied, "It's not empty." I then clarified, "You didn't write anything in it." I also included a bitmoji of myself holding a large pencil because I wanted to come across as gentle rather than ungrateful, despite my confusion. He responded, "Oh, I did not write in it, but there are nice things inside," followed by, "You do not seem happy about your card and flowers." I replied, "I am, thank you, love you," simply wanting to maintain harmony, as I sensed our conversation could be misunderstood over text. When he came home, I did not mention anything, but he entered the house clearly in a bad mood. He revealed he had informed his father that we are experiencing relationship difficulties, which is accurate. But I felt this came out of left field since things had felt more peaceful recently. He continued to share that his workplace is willing to sponsor him in case we divorce so he can remain in the country. I was aware he had discussed this with them before, but I found the timing unsettling, given it was Valentine's Day, and honestly, it was not pleasant to hear at all. I merely nodded and inquired about his father's reaction to the news. He still seemed upset, so I asked if he was annoyed with me regarding something, to which he replied that he was not. We spent the evening having dinner and went to bed. While in bed, I asked him why he did not write in the card or if he forgot to do so. He stated that it was intentional. I found this rather peculiar. I have never received or given a card without writing something in it, and it would have been nice to have a message from him. He became very defensive, claiming that I was ungrateful and that he did not care, suggesting I should simply throw it away. He asserted that he made an effort for me since he does not even believe in Valentine's Day, and I had repaid his kindness with ingratitude. I acknowledge I am not perfect and can sometimes be defensive and irritable, but I genuinely remained calm and reiterated that I was simply perplexed. I expressed that I appreciate sentiment over material gifts and that, while grateful, the gesture felt somewhat thoughtless. I was merely trying to understand his reasoning. We certainly have different love languages, so I was attempting to discern whether that was the issue or if I was overthinking things. I tend to be generous and thoughtful. I admit, I am definitely a people pleaser, whereas he is not. Honestly, I am not entirely sure what his love language is. I would say physical intimacy tends to be the most significant for him, if you catch my meaning. I really did not want to come across as an ungrateful person, but am I wrong for feeling this way or for being upset by the apparent lack of consideration? Are all men like this? I am not particularly fond of grand public gestures. I have no desire to go out for an extravagant meal on Valentine's Day. I dislike crowded environments and experience anxiety. However, I would appreciate a little thoughtfulness, perhaps a small celebration of love for me. Even if he merely got me my favorite soda, for instance, something that shows he thought of me. I am aware people may ask if I got him anything, and no, I did not. As he mentioned, he does not believe in Valentine's Day, and I accepted that we were not going to celebrate since nothing had been mentioned. To be honest, I am weary of giving without receiving anything in return. I used to put in a lot of effort for his birthdays, including balloons, banners, cards, baking a cake, and planning outings or weekend trips. For my birthday, I do not receive any of that, aside from gifts, which I genuinely appreciate, yet I have to specify exactly what I want and where to buy it. That is not ideal, but I could manage if there were efforts made in other areas, which there are not. I have even received a birthday present wrapped in Christmas paper and duct tape. My birthday is in July, by the way. Over the years, I have stopped doing these things because it genuinely hurts. He is hardly speaking to me today, and the atmosphere in the house is dreadful. I feel trapped and overwhelmed with anxiety, and I have no one to confide in. I am far from perfect myself. I still have a lot to work on, but I truly believe I am a decent, caring person, and I am now questioning myself. I do not wish for this post to seem like I evade accountability for our issues. I do take responsibility. He is not solely at fault, but I feel as though I am going crazy asking for the smallest things and still receiving nothing in return. And I do not refer to material possessions, but rather the basics such as genuinely listening to me when I speak, contributing to household responsibilities, etc. For context, we both work full-time for the same number of hours. I do not think he is a terrible person. Maybe we are just fundamentally different, but I feel incredibly unappreciated and taken for granted not just in situations like this but in everyday life as well. I handle almost everything around the house, and when I try to talk to him about anything, it feels like pulling teeth. He does not engage in discussions or show interest in what I say. We have had numerous conversations and arguments about how I feel this way, yet nothing ever changes. Ultimately, I believe this relationship may not be sustainable. I feel foolish for not recognizing any of this until recently, and for all this time, I have been the one giving while receiving very little in return. I have helped him advance, while I feel I am merely surviving. I do not know what I would do if we divorced, as I do not have friends where we live. My income is insufficient to afford living alone, and my parents are exceedingly toxic. I would rather not exist than live with either of them. They may consider taking me in, primarily since I would serve as free childcare for my younger siblings. I apologize for digressing and rambling. Any advice or perspectives would be immensely appreciated. I apologize for the length of this post. Perhaps I am overthinking everything. Maybe I am simply being ungrateful, or perhaps we are not well matched. I am uncertain about what my next steps should be. If you took the time to read this, thank you. I apologize for reposting. I deleted it almost immediately, fearing that everyone would label me as terrible and ungrateful, which became too difficult to process. After I removed it, I noticed some helpful comments, but I cannot now find them. I am unfamiliar with how Reddit works, as I typically observe rather than post, so I appreciate your understanding. Thank you to those who commented before. I read your replies and truly value them. Please be kind, thank you. Story 2. I waited in the cold for 2 hours while she got her nails done, and she still claimed I don't care about her. Am I invisible? For context, my girlfriend, 16 years old, has been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and I strive to be attentive to her needs and considerate of her condition, even when it sometimes requires me to compromise my self-respect. She often acts negatively towards me, 16 years old, during our arguments. This pattern began around September, at the start of the school year, when I noticed she frequently seemed frustrated with school and would often express that frustration towards me. To this day, this has led to disagreements in which she consistently brings up issues from 6 to 7 months ago, projecting her feelings onto me and accusing me for her behavior, claiming that I am doing things wrong that she is clearly doing herself. She has insulted me, including a recent incident where she called me pathetic after I agreed to go home following a disagreement. This is not an isolated incident. She frequently becomes angry and condescending when I simply comply with her requests, even when she is upset. Additionally, She has a habit of abruptly ending our calls during arguments or whenever she feels annoyed. After I did this a couple of times in disagreements a few months ago, because I felt we were making no progress and needed time to reflect, she has reverted to doing the same, claiming it is a response to my actions. It often happens that she engages in unpleasant behavior consistently, and when I mirror that behavior even temporarily, she attributes her conduct to me, insisting that I am the one at fault. Her parents are genuinely wonderful individuals who appreciate me greatly. I have gone hiking, skiing, and camping with them, and whenever she treats me badly, they support me and end up discussing her behavior with her. She does not show them much respect, often resorting to name-calling and yelling at them, but in the heat of an argument, she tends to exaggerate my actions, omitting crucial details to portray me in a negative light. Once, I told her that if she continued to raise her voice, interrupt, or insult me, I would go home and she wouldn't hear from me until she apologized. Her interpretation of this event was that I was threatening to cut off communication simply because she was reacting to my behavior. One of the aspects that pains me deeply is when she claims that I do not care about her and that I am completely disinterested, stating that I do not bring her gifts and that I show insufficient concern for her feelings, regardless of the topic. 2 days ago, we argued before she went to get her nails done at 4:00 p.m. I had school from 8:30 a.m. to 1:00 p.m., then went to the gym and arrived to pick her up around 6:00 p.m. Typically, her nail appointments last about 2 hours, but that day it extended until 8:45 p.m., causing me to wait outside in freezing temperatures for 2 hours. While I do not mind waiting, upon returning home, she once more accused me of not caring enough and not putting forth enough effort. I should also note that she has, at times, made distressing statements intended to hurt me, such as expressing a wish that something bad happens to her just to see me apologize. Or that throughout her remaining years, an unsettling topic. The last year since we have been together has made her feel the most emotionally drained and unappreciated. She frequently asks or pleads with me to end our relationship whenever I take time to think during a disagreement. She has insulted me by calling me a drug addict, despite knowing that I struggled with substance abuse issues before our relationship, and that I have shared with her the extent of that impact on my life. I have been sober since we started dating. She often becomes extremely angry if I do not respond to her messages during school hours, even though I am not allowed to be on my phone, and my phone has been taken away while I was communicating with her. Then she complains that I barely contact her during the day. We spend time together from 3:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. daily. When she is in a good mood and not upset, she is genuinely a wonderful person and girlfriend. She can be very sweet and considerate, and I cherish the unique bond we share, which I have never experienced before. This is my third serious relationship, each lasting about 1 year, but it is the only one that feels truly significant, especially considering my close relationship with her parents. It is incredibly disheartening and draining for me when she is angry or unhappy, because, during those times, I am made to feel responsible for her emotions and often receive labels such as uninterested or uncaring for my inability to assist her in the way she desires. I love her and value what we have, and I also have a strong appreciation for her parents, but it pains me when she becomes angry, as she tends to be rude, insulting, and distant, even when it is not my fault. This makes me feel helpless and, at times, inadequate as her partner. I dedicate almost all of my time to being with her, which has resulted in me being unable to spend time with my friends because she feels lonely and blames me for leaving her alone. I struggle to find time to be with my parents or my brother, whom I see only once every 2 or 3 months, and I have difficulty maintaining my gym routine, and going to parties has become nearly impossible. I only socialize with my male friends for small gatherings at someone's house. She feels neglected and left out during those times. I have attempted to communicate with her, and we have had numerous serious discussions about our boundaries. I have emphasized the importance of my personal time and how it affects me negatively when she reacts angrily. I always ask for her feelings and encourage her to articulate them clearly and logically, and I genuinely strive to improve, yet when I struggle to understand her point, she quickly accuses me of not listening. I acknowledge that I, too, have had outbursts of frustration in the past and did not manage my emotions well during our arguments, but I never insulted her or raised my voice if she refrained from doing so. I have worked hard to modify my behavior during these conflicts and have become a better listener, encouraging her to express how she feels. Nonetheless, she claims that I am doing this merely to gain a moral advantage over her. I have no intention of ending this relationship, as it is very important to me, and it has been the happiest period of my life so far. The connection we share is unlike any other I have experienced. However, it becomes increasingly difficult to overlook the negatives when they outweigh the positives to such an extent. Despite my efforts to communicate, sacrificing pieces of myself to make her content, or allowing time for both of us to reflect on our behaviors, nothing seems to improve. I truly feel helpless and am starting to lose hope that she will ever change or that our relationship will ever feel balanced. What steps can I take, given how much I value her positive attributes, her parents, and everything we have built thus far, despite her apparent negative traits? What can I do? Summary: my girlfriend is disrespectful and often explosive, but I deeply value our relationship and my bond with her parents, which makes me hesitant to end things.